Okay, good evening. It is Wednesday, June 23rd. This is a meeting of the Marina Advisory Committee. We have Martha, Walter, Kevin. We have Sam. And we have Will, you're on?
I'm here.
Okay, you hear us?
Yep.
Okay. Bob Hussey, is that you? Trying to get.
Is on mute.
Yeah, I clicked to unmute. It looks like Alfred, are you on?
I am.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? Okay, I think that's Bob Hussey, but he is not unmuting. Okay. We have the minutes for May 26th. I want to see if we have enough people to approve them who are here. Walter, Martha, Kevin, and Sam. Yes, we do. Okay, if you want to take a couple of minutes to look at the minutes. Bob Hussey, is that you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just observing.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have the minutes from May the 26th. Does anybody have any comments or corrections on them? Do you need a few more minutes?
I make a motion to pass the minutes on May 26, 2021 as written.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made by Kevin, seconded by Martha. Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, Walter,
Yes.
Martha,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes,
Sam Pepper,
Yep.
okay, and Joe, yes, so it passes unanimously. Okay. The next item is the Harbor Master report. Will, you want to take that? Will, you there?
I am here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting ready for town meeting at the end of the week. That's been our big project, get everything squared away and ready for that. That's Saturday afternoon. Saturday morning, actually. It starts just preparing the harbor in general. We've had a few issues come up here and there. One of them being fueling, where the designated fueling areas are in the marina. We've had to remind people of that. That's been one major issue that shouldn't be too major. Otherwise, just getting the marina ready for the summer. You know, 4th of July is coming. It's going to be a big 2 months, and just plugging away at most things.
Okay. Any comments from anybody?
I would like to. This is Alfred.
Yeah.
My question is, if we're having new fuel dock tanks put in and all that stuff. I question if it's tied to the fuel, and I don't know if this is the point to mention this, but I question about the fuel truck going back out to bid and whether or not you have the liability insurance from them that they're supposed to post. In the past, I know when we ran the fuel dock, town of Wellfleet got money from us and from the fuel truck. Where do we have any idea where that's at, if it's at, or is that something that's going to be on the agenda differently?
So currently, we've looked with Town Hall to find out where that paperwork used to exist. What it was the fuel truck used to pay us a certain rate per gallon of what they sold to the trucks. Currently, Cape Cod Oil has been the only one allowed per that previous agreement that has not been kept up with. And what it used to be was approximately 10 cents a gallon they used to pay to us. So right now we have a situation where Cape Cod Oil is currently selling fuel to diesel. Diesel is the only thing they're allowed to sell. They're currently selling it to people at the marina, using the marina, and not paying us anything, stating that the contract is non-valid anymore because it's out of date. What we are looking into now is getting a new bids on contracting our fuel service. We've had quite a lot of inquiries from other fuel companies that want to pick up service at the marina, and par for the course, usually at a marina, they would pay the marina a fee to be able to fuel up the boats, so that, as in our case, Cape Cod Oil is selling us the fuel and then selling it to people for less than we could possibly sell it for at our own fuel dock, which is not a beneficial practice to the marina.
Well, is there,
I'd like to follow up on my question, I guess, is how much money are we going to spend for a fuel system to allow somebody to compete with us? And I mean, us being the town, the enterprise fund. I mean, it just doesn't sound like that's a proper business practice.
No, it wouldn't be, especially considering we're spending upwards of $500,000 to provide fuel to customers at not a great profit margin for any business. Typically in a business, you'd mark your products up 50 to 100%, anything retail, to make some sort of profit. Where, as in, it's kind of understood that we're sort of taking it on the chin at the marina, making a small profit on fuel to provide a service for our customers. And in that fuel service, also you're getting, extra uses of the marina, all the benefits that come with it. I mean, a fuel truck coming down isn't paying to replace the deck boards on a pier that they're driving on. They're not paying a boat when you break down to come get you. That's kind of the town service that is provided. That's not a beneficial business practice, is to allow someone to come in and just for no benefit to the place that they are conducting their business, which that in itself, I'm not even sure if they have a current business license to sell fuel, as in, like a Alfred, your business, base sales, the charter boats would need a business license, and to pay for that to conduct business on town property. Anyone does. And I'm not even sure they have a current business license to provide that.
Something to put on your list, things to do.
Yeah.
Well, at least you have an insurance certificate from them.
Yeah, we have insurance from them, but is it a liability policy to conduct business? Not being an insurance expert, I don't know that it's a a liability policy to conduct business on town property.
I'm going to ask, this is my last question. If they're allowed to do, if an entity is allowed to sell fuel at the marina, what, without a mechanism, what's to stop other entities of doing the same at this point?
Just myself.
And you have, so my question is, if another fuel truck was to show up and hand in a liability policy, why would they be turned away?
I don't think legally there should be any reason that they would be turned away and under the current situation, unless we put that out to bid and made a sole provider source.
That's the way it
if
was
we
done
chose
before.
to do so, which was standard practice, as you mentioned, in the past.
For 30 years. Okay, that was my question, because I mean, we're going to the town meeting for the voters to tell them that we're going to spend all this money in a fuel system, which, by the way, needs to be upgraded, in my opinion. But I think that we also have to get our ducks in a row how we're going to pay for it. Thank you.
Before we move on, I see that there is a Jean joining us. Could you identify yourself, please? Well, no response. Okay. The next item on the agenda are Marina concerns. Who would like to begin?
Joe, I believe Flip's trying to get on the meeting right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to unmute that person. Says Gene, but that's maybe Flip.
No, it's not Flip. He said he's been trying to get on under his, he can't find the link. Can you resend him a link?
Yeah, hold on and I'll send it to him right now.
I tried 3 times and went to a different phone to make it work.
I just hit it once from the link in the email and it was fine. So everybody's different.
Smarter than I am, Walter.
All I did was press the button, man.
I'm going to send the link to him right now. Okay, it was sent to Flip. There's a Gene on who is muted. I've asked to unmute. We'll wait just a minute for Flip to get on. Well, I don't see him on. Okay, hopefully he can jump in any minute. Okay, Marina concerns. Who would like to lead off?
Well, I have one thing that is a future thing, but I think it's something that has to be in your mix of harbor duties is training for people, all your staff and you too. Number one reason is just so everybody knows what they're doing to the best of their abilities. And number 2 reason is if something was to happen and a lawyer got involved and found out that the staff was not trained fully to the extent of possibilities, the town could be in big trouble for that. So that's the only reason I know you're not going to be able to do anything about that this summer, but I just want that to be on your future list because, like I said, if something happened and one of our guys didn't have the training provided, that could be a case against the town. That's all I got.
Joe, at some point in time, can we invite Nancy? Because,
Yeah. As a result of the last meeting, right after it, I invited her, as many of you requested. And she told me she had to attend her niece's graduation, but would be willing to attend our next meeting. So I told her to plan on it. And I will send a reminder to her that we would like her to attend the next meeting. And if for some reason, she's booked with another event, then maybe we'll look at moving our meeting a little earlier.
or even members of the Shellfish Advisory Committee, because now they're talking about extending the grants. I mean, back in the day, you used to see all boats being moored over on Mayo Beach and this and that. There has to be a balance. There really has to be a balance. Now there's grants on the inside of the breakwater along that sandbar. So if dredging, maintenance dredging is going to have to be done, what's going to happen to those grants that are along the edge of that jetty? That's a major concern. I mean, I brought it up before. That sandbar is moving farther and farther out into the out in front of that jetty, and it's really restricting the channel coming in. Now somebody's got a buoy, a marker buoy on the end of the jetty for a grant. Now, Walter, you go back far enough, there was never any grants on that jetty.
No,
They're
no.
always up inside.
Yes, correct. They're inside, not towards the channel, no.
So now we got a buoy marker at the end of the jetty.
Haven't seen that one yet.
So if we decide at some time as a community to dredge along that jetty to push that sandbar back, then you're going to be dredging up somebody's grant, and that's going to be a major conflict. That's just my thoughts. There's got to be nothing against anybody making a living, but there has to be a balance between the recreational boater and the shellfishing community. Right now, no one can moor a boat down on off of Mayo Beach because the scope is going to end up being on somebody's grant. So you just restricted all that area from the channel all the way down on moorings. There has to be a balance, or at least a conversation. Something we lack in this town. We don't have conversations about projects. Walter, you may have an idea. Will may have an idea. Alfred, Bob Hussey, Joe, everybody might have an idea that I don't see.
Here we go.
It's just clogging up with grants. That's all I got. Hey, Flip.
Hi, guys. Sorry about all that. I just could not.
You hear us, Flip?
Yeah, I got you now. I can hear you. I guess you can hear me.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Will, do you have a response to what Kevin offered?
No, not in, no, like Kevin said, there needs to be a conversation about planning. These things should be planned out. We've seen how they've been planned out in the past and laid out. And I think with also the push of the select board currently, I think they will weigh in on our decisions a lot more coming from this department in the future, hopefully.
Does anybody have any comments on that subject?
Are you guys talking about like the grants and stuff? I know, I'm sorry, I'm half hour behind, but about the give me a little update, I guess. That would be nice. you
Flip, my
could.
concern is that now they're looking at extending grants over.
Right.
So you're gonna have grants going to grants. You remember long ago when boats were all moored along Mayo Beach and all the way down.
Yep.
They can't do that anymore because the
No.
scope of the boat is gonna be up on the grant. That's one problem. The other problem is now that there's grants along the jetty over on Indian Neck on the inside. There was never any grants on that.
No.
So if the town decides to dredge along that, like they did with that in front of Max, that jetty in front of Max, they're not gonna be able to do it because then people are gonna be bitching about taking away their livelihood, which the grants should have never been granted for in the first place.
Right. Yeah, they've been really spread out. There's no doubt. Yeah, this has been and we're closing our channels that are access ways for boaters that just want to just go from point A to point B during in kind of mid tides. And it's getting a little crazy out there. I agree.
Go open a Blackfish Creek mid-tide.
Yeah, no, I know. It's horrible. I walk Blackfish Creek at low tide and I look and go, okay, you got like 8 feet to get across. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts. And there's got to be a happy medium there between the shell fishermen and the boaters. I mean, there's no doubt. We're getting more and more boaters every year and more shell fishing grants that are just expanding it and larger. We gotta definitely work together and try to, come up with a solution that works for everybody. And I like the idea of, they keep calling these, designated channels or whatever that the heart, they're trying to get Will to like establish areas. I mean, that's an idea. I don't know if it's the right one. It could definitely impact everybody because they could shift or whatever. But yeah, I see your point, Kevin, inside the jetty. Yeah, like Chopper's Grant, that's crazy. It's like right there, and then the other ones that are just outside the jetty they're like, you come out of the jetty and you're like, okay, well, now what? If I don't take a quick turn, I got a little, another boat coming in. What do I do? So it's getting tight.
One thing I've kind of observed here is that, we talk about a lot of these issues each month at a meeting. And, Will's getting up to speed on an awful lot of things, and he has an awful lot of responsibilities and a lot of different issues going on down at the marina. And I think that if we're going to be an aid at all, to helping him and helping the harbor master's office, to perhaps in between these meetings, we should, come up with like maybe sit down with Will, come up with a little task force and actually delineate exactly what has to be done, and come up with some bullet points, like sit down with Nancy and sit down with maybe members of the Shellfish Advisory Board and figure out exactly a way that we're going to tackle this instead of just talking about it all the time. And it's not just this issue, it's all issues. And so I think we should figure out how we can, be supportive and move forward with some delineated issues that we can address.
So
Well, that's what this meeting is for. And one advantage of doing it at this meeting is everybody can participate.
Right. I understand that, Joe. Yeah, I understand that 100%. But like at the meetings, a lot of times we talk about some of these things and then we don't have the time to really actually sit down and come up with the bullet points. And so, perhaps maybe in between these meetings, we should get together and have a work session and address, like each one of these issues and decide, how we can proceed forward from here and, and how we can help and assist Will in doing that.
I
Well,
like that, Martha.
why don't we make a list right now? We don't have to debate them or discuss them, but just
Right.
make a list. What's on your mind for that list, Martha?
Well, I think one thing would be on my mind was the issue that we just brought up, about the, like meeting with the Shellfish Advisory Board, coordinating things and, and addressing the issues that we're talking about right now. I think
So
that
the grants is one issue.
I think
And
the
we're
grant-
going to have Nancy. And one of the things I'm going to propose later is that we not go a month, that we only go 3 weeks.
Okay.
So the grants is one issue. What is another bullet point?
Also, with the grant issue, there has been many Shellfish Advisory Board meetings where it is, of course, for everyone to speak their mind as well. I participated in a lot of those, and also the public hearings with the select board meetings. Those can be attended by the Marina Advisory Committee members as well to voice their opinions in those matters.
Okay, bullet points. Who else has a bullet point?
I'd like to say something on the grants, if I may. It's Alfred again.
Yes.
We had a dredge incident last December on a grant. It really wasn't on the grant. We've asked Nancy many times since then to have the grant marked properly. She still doesn't know where the grant is. So unless something is going to change at that level, good luck. I mean, we should be able to mark out a grant that's next to the channel inside of the breakwater and know where it is. We have not been capable of doing that since the dredge ran aground. I don't know if you people are aware of that, but it still has not been marked where that grant is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, but isn't that the responsibility of the grant holder?
Well, if you're the chairman of the advisory committee, and every time things come up of that nature, we put them aside for a longer period of time, how's it going to get fixed, Walter? I mean, I'm not saying to fix the problem of whether the stuff's on the grant or off the grant, but even at least to get the buoys where they belong. Jesus Christ, since December, you think we could do that? It's only 4 buoys. And not only that, as you probably saw the pictures when the tugboat ran aground, it showed where the grant was supposed to be according to what the Corps of Army Engineers approved. And in order to get a shellfish grant in Wellfleet, the Corps of Army Engineers has to approve the corner points. So if they superimposed where the grant was during the dredge accident, it's obvious that those points are available if they have them, because they're the ones who issue where your grant is. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to take it off of the Corps' plan and submit it on the bottom, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's it sounds like they've been having like issues with the GPS maps over top of some of the older grants, and that was one of their slowdowns. At least that's my understanding when I was at one of the meetings, and they're trying to kind of rectify that somehow.
Flip. This grant has been superimposed by the Corps of Army Engineers. So it's not whether I say it's to the right or the left, or you say it's in the middle. Where the government said that grant goes is where the buoys were originally. Somehow things migrated, but we still can't put the buoys back where the Corps says they belong. That grant belongs where the Corps of Engineers says it does, not where you or I or anybody decides it.
Right, based on what kind of settings, from what the town put in place, or what or from GPS settings? What are we talking about? I mean,
these are actually surveyed.
Surveyed out in the water.
Mm-hmm. Well, surveyed on the ground because it was a dry at low tide to do it there.
Oh, okay.
Slade used to do a bunch of them.
Yeah, they did, but there's like all this controversy about like the moving. I mean, come on, you got to think about the movement of what the ground moves. So what does that mean?
And GPSs are off by quite a bit.
Exactly. They're not going to be by the foot, you know.
Yeah, but when you've got an aerial superimposed from the Corps of Army Engineers, you're not going to get any more input than that. They took all the stuff from the dredging, they took all the stuff from where the grants were, and they put that all in a plan. I believe Will still may have one. Is that correct, Will?
I do. And actually the equipment that they were using to do that is a lot finer tuned or in finer detail than anything that's available to any of us.
But let me ask one more question to Will through Joe, I guess. It did show that the buoys were incorrect where they were. Is that correct?
Correct.
And
Especially then we all went out there and specifically saw that firsthand.
And to the best of your knowledge, it hasn't been rectified yet.
No, I believe I thought they were meeting on that again this week. I'm not sure. I wasn't totally aware of it, but I believe there's something more going on with that I did not know about. But no, I believe it's still a contentious issue, which um, from the point of the maps that were given by our engineers and the dredging engineers, because obviously they pay a lot of money, and we pay a lot of money to have very specific data points put in. When you're paying by the foot or by the cubic yard, they're going to invest in heavy equipment to mark this stuff out. If they dig a little bit in the wrong direction, they do not get paid. So their equipment is very highly tuned, and that clearly showed. And I haven't seen any total evidence of all that being rectified at this point.
Well, the reason I brought it up was the step off from where Kevin left. We had a dredging project, which was very necessary to Wellfleet. The dredge ran aground, okay, and they never got to a grant, but a grant holder is claiming they were on their grant. And the reason we know they weren't on the grant is because of the level of their equipment and the map that the Corps have created. So my question is, if we're going to be outside of our bounds, or we're putting grants where Kevin's concerned, is anybody going to want to come and dredge if they know they're going to run aground on somebody's grant? Or are they just going to charge us more in case there's an accident?
Yeah, I get you. I got you, Alfred. I got it. I get that. Yeah.
I mean,
so that's crazy. So there should be. So they're basically not in cahoots with. Is there stuff in the channel? Is that what you're saying?
well, it's 60 feet out of where the grant's supposed to be,
Okay.
in my opinion. The tugboat hits the bank because the grant goes out to the edge of the channel. They decide the tugboat's on their grant, even though the grant isn't at the edge of the channel, as far as the depth of the water. So when the guy in the tugboat thought he still had 60 more feet before he was in your front yard.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
You see where the problem comes in?
Yeah, I get it.
I think this problem was also compounded by the fact that the grant holder was not the only one trying to claim casualty to the tug company. It was a secondary corporation that was working outside of the primary grant holder's bounds in that area that was trying to go after the tug company for loss.
Which has no shellfish licenses in the town of Wellfleet because they don't have residents.
Right.
Anyways, I've got off track. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Other bullet points, anybody?
I
Well, the
would say,
fuel truck thing, probably.
Can you repeat that, please? I didn't hear it.
Yeah. What'd you say, Walter?
I said the fuel truck delivery thing, that might be a thing to put on his list.
Will, I have a question about that. Is there a specific area that they're required to fill the boats at?
yes. At the end of or at the beginning of the L pier, if you go straight out to the unloading loading zone, that is the designated area if you are not using our fuel dock.
There used to be a sign on the pier there, unloading and fuel. I don't know if it's still there.
There always was. I believe I see a sign right now. I'm not sure what it says. Yeah, I believe it still says that. I'm trying to look at it from here. But yeah, we could also put up a secondary fueling zone if that helps clarify the issue, other than our fuel docks. in which I do want to comment that we did get inspected by the fire marshal the other day, and I asked him, the same fire marshal that always comes, he's very thorough, very nice person, but extremely thorough. So I asked him if I can meet with him during that inspection and walk through exactly what he may want to see, or prefer A, for our new system, and B, for our current, what we have exactly as he sees it. And we did pass the current inspection with flying colors, and telling him that, A, we're replacing the fuel dispensers, the computer system, all that. He, very appreciative. But they did love the fact that we are getting hose reels that will sit up on the hardtop and be reeled down. That was a very happy point for him, that we were going to do that and be able to keep the nozzles and everything up above the dock and sea level, and then pull them down for the daytime use.
Well, what is your policy right now regarding fuel trucks, fueling boats, and whether or not it can be done and where?
So the current policy is that all fueling has to either be done at our fuel dock or at the loading unloading zone on the L pier. That's it.
Okay,
Those are the designated areas.
Inside the harbor, outside the harbor, where is it? The other side of the breakwater?
It's or outside the breakwater, you can fuel your own vessel with the jugs. Which unfortunately for the people that do that probably leads to, a lot more work, a lot more hassle, but hey.
okay. Other bullet points?
I would check closely and follow along with the what's kind of coinciding with the public rights of access. I've been to a lot of conservation meetings, and what I'm seeing there is a reluctance to have any kind of kayaks, paddle boards, tenders on anywhere near any of the landings. The conservation groups are pretty hard hitting on that. And it's honestly, it's been a battle. My standpoint is to try to educate people on what they can do and make more accessibility for people. But that is, and it has been well received by them, but that's the conservation committee anyway. But these boat racks and things, we got a lot more users, just like motorboats. We have a lot more users in town, and we need to come up with some solutions for that. I get daily emails and phone calls requesting that we go down to every public landing in town, and even private, which we cannot do. And I stress, we cannot take things from private property, but to remove things from those landings. So that comes up quite regularly at conservation meetings. And I think that's a really strong point for the Marina Advisory, where we have mooring fields, we have rights of access everywhere that we want to be able to use, not just from motorboats, but from self-propelled vessels.
Okay,
Well-
anybody have anything else?
Yeah, along the lines of what Will was just saying, there's certainly there's an increased use of like kayaks and, personal watercraft, but there's also an increased use of people accessing the piers and the launching ramp. And, I think we need to be as definitive as we can on, what the rights of those, individual docks are. How long can people be there? What's their access? And I seem to see more and more people coming in, accessing like a lot of the like restaurants and stuff in town, which we certainly want them to do, from an economic standpoint. But, one with the dredging that we've had and the proposed dredging that we're going to have in the next year, we're all talking about like the increased usage of the marina. And tied in with that is the parking issue too. But I think that we really need to be definitive on what people can and cannot do down there in terms of, like tying up to, specific docks for long periods of time.
Yeah, there was an episode this past Sunday. A 38-foot yacht came in, tied up in the middle of the fuel dock. Nobody could park in front or behind him. He was there for 4 hours. His family went to Pearl for lunch, then to Max. I came in toward the end to fuel up. I waited 40 minutes. They were on the boat, but not showing any indication of leaving. So I yelled over and said, "Are you going to be leaving soon?" And the curt answer I got was, "Well, eventually." There was nobody there to tell him that he couldn't do that. He had fueled up long before he had left, but he used it as a 4-hour courtesy dock. And I think one way to remedy that would be to assign a staff member to the fuel dock. It wasn't very busy. There were 3 staff people working. But I think that would accomplish 2 things. One, it would keep the turnover rate at the dock where it should be. People fuel up and leave. And 2, when you come in to fuel up, you wouldn't have to run around the marina to flag somebody down to come over and fuel you up. So I gave up after 45 minutes and just left.
Did you hail the office on the VHF or the phone?
I called and I got the answering machine.
Okay, did you hail them on VHF?
No,
And they weren't at the fuel dock when you
No.
were around?
no.
Okay, I'll replay the video and see the exact specifics on that. Did you get any numbers on the boat?
No, but I think Alfred has dealt with them before. Is that right, Alfred?
Well, it's just the thing in general. That's why,
I mean, it's not limited, Will, to just one boat. It seems to be happening more frequently.
Well, I think this is an issue that, we don't really need to address because it is going to happen more and more frequently, as we have more access with the dredging. And also, when you take a look at it, we have a lot more popular restaurants down there that, people all want to come to. And then it's coupled with the parking issue. I mean, it's an overall issue. And I think that it's an issue when people are trying to access the fresh water over at the, the town pier there. I think it becomes an issue when people are trying to access the pump out station. It's so we need to, I think we need to be proactive about this and, certainly plan for now, but plan for in the future too, where we're going to probably have some increased usage.
Martha, I agree with all of those issues. I don't think any of them are as prominent and as violated frequently as that of the fuel dock.
well, I may have a suggestion, but I don't want to make this look like this is a financial gain for me. Because if I ask Walter how he did in the launch service, he's probably going to say he made $1 million. The town of Wellfleet, and I'm open to suggestions to help because I can see where this needs to get addressed for everything. And the town of Wellfleet has transient moorings, which we run the shuttle service to at a fee. We stop at 7 o'clock at night. So if people are trying to go to a restaurant, they probably don't want to go to the mooring. What I've discussed, and I said this to Will today, is that Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, we'll come back and we'll make a trip at 9 o'clock, 8:45, somewhere in that range. And if it's more than one trip, we'll make that. But I'm not going to be making the thing at 9:30 because there's 2 drunks who didn't come out of the bar. At that point, I want to be the drunk at the bar. Um, so I guess my question to the committee or to Will is if there is a mechanism so that I know what to tell the people when they come in, when we go to the mooring, and if his help knows what the mechanism is. You know, you can go to a mooring, you can go to a slip for this amount of money, you go to a mooring for that amount of money. I mean, some of the people already know. It's been going on, but the fact that I haven't done the best job in the shuttle business is because I was tide restricted. The fact that we got dredging, we are no longer tide restricted from my float to the transient moorings. So, I mean, I don't know whether or not you want to consider setting up, you know, somebody who comes in, the crew knows exactly where to send them, whether it's on a radio. I mean, somebody's got to work this out. Somebody's got to work this out other than me, because I'm the one who is going to benefit from it financially. And I really don't think if I go down the pier at 9 o'clock, because when you get the cheap seats, the 12 people who went to dinner are going to take 2 people to the mooring and then come back and pick up the other 10. But I'm still willing to try this if that will alleviate this problem until we get the dredging finished.
Will our staff told to monitor the amount of time people are at the fuel dock and to enforce the regulation that they leave when they're done?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Of course, they're told to monitor the regulations.
yeah.
Actually, they usually do quite a good job at that.
Well, it's been an issue, and I've heard it from other people as well.
I got pushed out of the docks 4 or 5 weeks ago. I pulled into Jerry's dock and they were down on me in a minute and said, "Hey, you can't pull into the, you know, this slip right now." So, I mean, me personally, I get kicked out of there real quick, but it could be just me, Joe. But
Out of Jerry's slip or the fuel dock?
Jerry's slip and
Okay,
fuel
I'm
dock.
talking about
Yeah.
the fuel dock.
Well, just in general, I think the monitoring's been pretty, you know, pretty normal from what I've seen. Just me personally, my own opinion. I want to go back to Alfred's thing, though. I do appreciate that, Alfred. That's a good insert into our thinking into our future of how the town can make a little more money off of some shuttle service, and that's something that maybe we should look at. That would create more, you know, people, more jobs, maybe too as well. Definitely something we should look at.
Well, we discussed it today, and my mother's like, you know, they're going to go to the restaurant and they're going to go down the boat. And I looked at my mother and I said, yeah, you got young people in their 30s.
Yep.
Telling her,
Money.
who just spent
Money.
$250, $300 for a dress. They're
Yep.
going out for dinner, and then they're going to get in the dinghy. I don't think so.
Well,
That's the
you
way,
get
I mean,
a nice launch.
that's what the town provides right now. And
Yep.
if you got a boat, you got to be able to get there.
Yeah.
Well, that's
They're
why
expecting the launch.
that's why I'm
get it.
suggesting, and I mean, Walter ran. Let me ask you this question, Walter. When you did the sunset trips and stuff in the evening, you ran after I went home, or
I never
did you?
did sunset trips. No, that was Luke Simpson that did those trips.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I
Yeah,
guess my question is the fact that you ran a shuttle service, and we all stop at the same time or approximate time. Do you think that the 3 nights a week would alleviate the problem with the people going to the restaurants, where they actually run a mooring? The town collected the mooring money, and then
No.
there was a shuttle service.
It probably would be to the benefit of everyone if we had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing, but the town would have to pay for that, and that would be
No,
included in the mooring fee. I mean, the transient
No.
mooring fee.
No, it wouldn't, Walter, because the way it works now, a transient boat shows up. We'll, or one of them, tell them to pick up number 1, let's say, and if they want to ride, to contact the shuttle service. At which time, we charge $3. It's on our rental booth per person each way. So the town pays nothing for shuttle service. It's depending on the people themselves in the boat. So that if they come back at 6:59, they get a ride. If they come back at 7:15, they don't get a ride. So what I was trying to do was to alleviate the early coming back, because they don't. And this way here, the people would be on a mooring, the town would collect the money, and they could still get a ride at 9 o'clock.
Well, as long as the schedule was, made easily available. I mean, I think that's part of that is, they gotta know when
Well,
they
it's got to
get
be,
off.
well, it's got to be portrayed. I will put it on the side of my rental booth, and then it's up to the harbor master's office, however they wish to make sure it's public.
Well, I think that what we could do is we could put, I mean, I hate to over signage stuff, but one, to alleviate the problem on the fuel dock, put up a sign down there that boats are allowed on the fuel dock while they're fueling. And that otherwise they have to go to a transient mooring or transient dock space, and that shuttle service is available on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until 9 o'clock at this number. And the same thing with maybe a small sign over at the harbor master's office, or when people get the transient moorings, they're made aware of that.
Well, the rest of the week we go to 7. I want to be very clear. It's
Yeah.
not just the weekend. I mean, we run 8 to 7.
Well, that's it. We should have some signs down there then that say transient mooring, transient, yeah, right. Shuttle service available till 7 o'clock, Monday through Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday till 9, and list the telephone number.
And that's not going to cost the town anything. Well, I don't know who brought that up, but no, that's not going to cost the town anything.
No, that would be fine.
Actually, the town will make money because of transient moorings. But
Well,
the
that's what-
mechanism has to be in place when somebody says to somebody that's fueling the boat, can I stay here for 10 minutes while I
No.
run over to Max to get ice cream? No, there's transient slips and it's this amount of money.
If it's
Net-
Tuesday morning, yeah, but if it's Friday afternoon, no.
Kevin, I think it comes down to an enforcement issue once again.
Well, the 10 minutes always ends up becoming a half an hour at the minimum,
Yeah.
or an hour.
Kevin sees it, yeah.
So, Joe, what exact time did this incident happen where you were circling around for 40 minutes?
It was approximately 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
I was there for 45 minutes.
45, circling around.
I didn't see them fueling. They were getting ice cream. A few people told me they had dined at Pearl and then went over. I gave up after 45 minutes after the guy said, yeah, we'll eventually leave, with attitude. No, I think some of those people are pretty arrogant that do that, and there has to be a firm hand, and.
I think it's more entitlement, Joe.
Oh, it is, for sure.
Arrogance ends up becoming an attribute of entitlement.
Yeah, for sure.
I also
For
think
sure,
it's-
but also I wonder, are the young people on the staff willing to take on some of these entitled, arrogant people?
Well, but I also think it's a matter of having the definitive signage, because, you just can't come up with a regulation like that and not have a sign and not have a sign to back it up. I mean, if a young person's down there on the dock and they say, hey, this is the regulation, that's one thing. But if they point to the sign and say, no, here's the listing and here's the regulation, for the town, and this is what I have to enforce.
I
Yeah, it should
agree.
be like
I think it should be a large sign, not a small one.
It can be a real simple thing. It can be, 15-minute, gas only maximum, and then that's at the harbor master's discretion after that. I mean, how long does it take to gas your boat up? 15 minutes, 20, maybe it's a really big boat. It should just be a time limit. And yeah, Martha, you're right. There should be something down there that says specifically, this is gas only. It's not a courtesy dock for everybody. I don't really know how that all works because I'm a little confused about how the courtesy docks work in general, time limit wise, and how, because guys can park up for hours and just hang out. because I don't know, the tide's low in the back. I don't know. That's gonna be an
Rule for
issue.
the rule for the courtesy dock by the launching ramp has always been 15 minutes.
Right, 15
There used
minutes.
to be a sign there. I don't know if it still is.
I mean,
We-
I see that a lot with guys
To
just,
replace that as
go ahead,
well
Rob.
right now. Sorry, I said we have the sign in the office, in the garage right now to refurbish that as well. They have to come on and off every year when we pull the docks. There is a lot of entitlement going on around the harbor. I know one of our people approached someone this weekend about tying up at that dock and parking their vehicle in an unoccupied parking spot, and was told, you need to learn who the locals are. And that's what a $16 an hour, 20-year-old employee is getting told in their face with two people. Now, I remember when I was working a summer job for 16 bucks an hour. And I remember what I did when someone did that, you know? That's a pretty hard thing to face for these people.
Well,
And
first of all, in all fairness to these young kids, I mean, you have to, you have to have something in the back to support them. And the one thing would be referring to the sign. And then if they give them some crap about that afterwards, then the young person should be able to come to, you know, like Will or whoever and say, look, this is the issue I've had. And then it should be enforced from there. So people don't get away with that.
yeah, and that's
But they
exactly,
need this, they need the sign to back them up, you know, they need the information to back them up. And I dealt with this a lot with different things. And boy, I tell you, I used to say to people, well, this is what our insurance, you know, says. And, you know, lots of times people would shut up after that. But
I think, Will, your point is a valid one about being young and being intimidated. And Martha's point is quite valid as well about having a backup. It seems that the afternoons on Saturdays and Sundays are the busiest times, and it's also quite busy at the launching ramp. And so, you know, one thought, Will, would be you might want to give some consideration to your working those days, or if Dave was working, making him the supervisor and the backup guy, the adult who can back the kids up.
well, I do work on Saturdays, first off, and no, I'm not gonna work on Sundays.
Mhm.
Plain and simple, I'm not.
Can Dave be given the authority to be the
does.
shift supervisor?
Yeah, and he does, and he has it, yeah.
Mhm.
And like you said, a lot of the problem is entitlement. I see a lot of people tying up to docks and you know, using what they have as kind of favors to be able to, or entitlement to be able to be in an area because they can't get out back or something like that. We had that situation happen on many times where there were certain boats on certain docks that I didn't see in the turnover report. I didn't see them come in and pay either on the videos for their for their boats sitting on docks where they did not belong. You know, and that comes from a lot of places. That you know, that reaches home to a lot of people, and that's one thing that we've been trying to work on and expressing to everyone is that you know, that kind of stuff is you know, toxic. It's very toxic.
It's gonna get worse through the summer too, Will. And that's one of my biggest things in the back of my mind is that I hear it from people. They're like, oh, well, I could just pull around and just hook up to the courtesy dock until the tide's good. I'm like, really, you and everybody else back there, how's that gonna work? So yeah, you guys are gonna have your hands full with that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we do, we really do, and I mean, it even comes down to, you know, like this fall, we're really worried about getting the boats out. I mean,
Right.
there were numbers of boats even last year that stayed in way past the October 15th date. And you know, it's an uphill battle, you know, getting these boats out. You know, people from all walks of life are, you know, really just, and then and the part that really gets to you is when the people that are violating multiple rules in the marina complain about things too, and that is just like, come on. You know, we know the things that are wrong here, and the entire staff is doing their job. Actually, they watch a lot of these meetings. That's kind of expressed that they should um, watch these meetings, you know, when they come into work, and you know, see what people have to say. And you know, and they've had quite a few comments, and you know.
It's a tough situation, as you said, Will, to put young people in. That one situation that I witnessed with you last year with the guy with the 3 motors telling you that he wouldn't
Right.
hire you for his corporation and that you were a lousy employee and this and that. I mean, you handled it very professionally, but to put a 20-year-old kid against some corporate executive is not a very comforting situation
No.
for a 20, and I get it. And it also we seem to forget that there's a very delicate balance that Will and everybody else plays down there between the locals and the other people. I mean, and sometimes the locals are very arrogant and entitled. So it's a very difficult balance. I would say, Will, if they don't get their boats out, give them a week and then have Alfred tow them out, put them someplace and charge them a fee.
Yeah.
But
I-
and treat everybody the same. If you treat everybody the same, then no one has any bitches.
Yeah, that's a good point. And now with our new computer system, those charges do stick, and they go right to town hall when we put them on there, and they're unpaid. So you know, we're gonna be paying close attention to that. And you know, fortunately, I wear a badge. I can wear a badge. These kids can't, you know, and that does make it tough for them. And you know, again, that's really going to be the push for you know, full-time law enforcement help, as opposed to just relying on you know, 2-month-a-year summer kids to do enforcement. Um, you know, I myself can enforce from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m., which typically I do. I'm called down here all the time. You know, I mean, if I see any of Alfred's crew, normally they see my, you know, they're here down here all the time, and they'll see me coming down and know it's an odd hour. I'm down here for something, and that's quite frequent. So I
And
think
it's gonna get worse because there's a lot more people here. I mean, and that's another conversation for another time within the community. When is enough enough? It's too
Yeah.
much.
Well,
So
I was surprised that you showed up for the fuel thing. I mean, it needed an electrician. I mean, I'm glad you came, you know, but I'm just saying, you know, you do show up when we have a breakdown.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
What can we do to help here for right now? I mean, you know, what's going to come out of this meeting tonight? We're going to, you know, put a couple signs up so at least these young people have something to refer to. And, you know, and then we're going to, you know, support them and support Will in the background if he's got to run in with somebody when there is a sign that needs to be enforced. And, you know, what else are we going to do here?
I think one avenue to consider is that, you know, the young people should be encouraged to enforce the rules. And if they're intimidated, to appeal to Dave or to Will, and if neither are available, to call the police. The police are certainly willing to lend a hand.
But I think you'll find when you have a police officer come in, they're gonna need to know what the violation is, and they're gonna need to be referred to an actual regulation, like a
Put
sign.
a sign up.
Yeah,
Well, maybe the sign can deter the conflict, because what do you get for a slip out back, Will, as a transient?
For the night or for the season?
No, well, I guess my question is, and I'm going to use simple numbers. If you get $10 for a slip out back and you get $1 for a transient mooring, and the rates are around the thing, and the people don't want to take a transient mooring, then the crew can just say, well, you got to move to the next thing, and we'll see if we have a transient slip available. That way, the kids aren't in a confrontational thing of sending somebody somewhere. If somebody wants to spend, I guess I would have to know what a slip was by the night. The average slip.
Slip by the night, $57 plus $2 a foot over 30.
Well, let's just say it's $50. So I can go to a slip for $50, or I can go to a transient mooring for dinner for $20. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the sign should just say that. So now the kids are giving them an option, and then the people can choose what they want. If they don't want to get in a launch, if they don't want to get in a dinghy, if there's a slip available, they can go around back and go into a transient slip. And that way the fee, so that if we have to call the cops, which I don't think is going to be great in the long run. I get it, though. I mean, the kids may need backup. But when the officer shows up and says, hey, bud, you got to move, and the sign says I can go to A for this price or B for that price, at least at that point, the kids told them where to go. If they don't want to listen, there's somebody of authority who maybe can push it without it becoming a big deal. But I think the sign itself, and I'm not talking a billboard, but I think a published rate sheet on that might make it easier for the kids to tell them to go to the mooring.
yeah, because they have something in print to actually refer to, not just, coming up off the top of their head with it. They can just
Yeah.
refer to the regulation, the harbor regulation.
And the advantage of that is if I pull up to the fuel dock and I came from Maine and I see the sign and it says, oh, I can go get a slip or I can get a mooring, at least at that point, I know that there's an option of maybe a place to stay in Wellfleet. And I know what the fee's going to be.
Which will change once you get full drudgeage in the back and you got all those transients. If you have any transients back there next year.
Well, yeah, but then you just peel the sticker off and up the rate. I do that all the time.
You put the white out on, right?
Well, what do you think of those recommendations?
Yeah, actually, that's something we did last summer was put up a bunch of signs. We laminated a bunch and put them up everywhere. And I have a bunch sitting on the desk here to go back up.
How about a big one at the fuel dock with, the time limit and the rules?
Yeah, big sign, 10 little signs.
You gotta teach them how to read them, though. That's the trouble.
If we agree to like this proposal that Alfred's made about the launch service, I think that we need to, put some pretty definitive signs up about the launch service being available so people at least know that.
Yeah, that's like a whole separate entity though, I think, Martha.
How so?
I
Well-
do know that Alfred's crew over there and us, last year we started all getting, one thing I've been manning my staff with, and I know he has as well, is VHF radio. So we all can hear what we're doing when people call on VHF, and then we send them over to the launch and call out, let's say, Sam or Olivia or Ben or something. And, that was the real start of, moving this along last year. And now this is a push to make it even more cohesive together with them. And
No. The radios helped last year, but the reason, and as I said at the beginning, was we couldn't fulfill a service because we couldn't get off our dock.
Yeah.
So I think if we take what we learned last year, we can certainly get way better this year. That's why I offered that thing, because, you know, and yes, his staff was telling, I can't use the word staff because Olivia probably wouldn't accept that as a label. But I'm just saying, so I mean, I guess my concern, or maybe the suggestion with the two prices on the sign, and it doesn't have to be that big, Joe. I think a small one would be fine. But if the kid's standing on the fuel dock, and these aren't kids, they're young adults, and just points to it, says, look, you got option A, you got option B. This is what my boss tells us. What would you like, sir? That's all. I have no more to say in this because, unfortunately, I'm batting to make money, I guess, but I want to be very upfront, and I hope Walter understands this, or Walter will understand this better than some of you. There's not a lot of money in running a launch service.
That's why I don't do it anymore.
A follow-up thought on providing support to the young staff. When I go to other marinas, they all have walkie-talkies. So if each staff person had a walkie-talkie and they had a problem, you know, they don't have to run around trying to find Dave or Will, but can get on the walkie-talkie right away to get support.
And
And also to communicate who's at the fuel dock and needs to be fueled up.
And they do here as well. And that was one of the reasons why I asked you if you called on VHF, was because they do have them here.
But they have to be in the office to hear the VHF, don't they?
No, they don't. They all have, there's portable VHFs that we bought last year for that purpose.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, quickly. Bob Hussey, I saw your name come up. Did you want to say something?
No, not right now.
Okay. Next category is dredging update. Moving ahead for Area 1 in the fall on several fronts. Working on the RFP to get the engineer's contract going again. Working with the lobbyist in our congressional delegation. Securing the necessary permits for the amendment area. Looking ahead a year on the Area 2 issue for the permit. Will, do you want to jump in on anything on that?
No, currently we are just moving forward on the Area 2 and working around to see how we can pull that off.
Mhm. Okay. The next item is election of officers. I'm willing to do it for another year if that's what you'd like.
I nominate Joe for chairman.
I'll second that.
Okay, Walter nominated. Martha, I'm taking the minutes here. Martha's second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Walter,
Aye.
Martha,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Flip,
Aye.
Sam.
Yep. Aye.
Okay. New business and future concerns. I think we made a good list of future concerns. Does anybody have any other?
Wait a minute, on the officers, is Walter still the vice?
Yeah, I overlooked that.
Yeah, and also, is it fair for Joe to like be the chairman and also the secretary?
Well, I don't mind doing the minutes, but it would be good to have a vice chair. Walter, are you interested again?
I nominate Flip
What?
for vice chairman.
Why?
It's a hard
You're late.
job, Flip.
Oh, the vice chairman to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
I don't think I called on a vice chairman at all in the past year.
No,
It's a no-show, big salary job.
yeah, you get a lot for it.
Excellent. I like those kind of jobs.
I second Walter's motion.
Thanks, Kevin.
So Walter nominated Flip. Kevin seconded. Flip, if elected, are you going to serve
Serve for what?
as vice chair?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Am I still on the committee?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not going to get off that easily. Okay, roll call for nomination for the vice chair. Walter,
aye.
Martha,
I,
Kevin,
Aye.
Sam,
Yes.
Joe, I. Flip, you're in like
Congratulations.
10.
Super.
Okay, the next meeting, I have a thought I want to propose. That we go 2 weeks and that I make the effort to have the Shellfish Constable and the chair of the Shellfish Advisory Board present at our meeting. Your thoughts?
Yes.
We're in prime time during the summer, things are happening. You know, it seems like a month is too long to address issues. Other issues come up from time to time. So Flip,
I
you're
would
in
agree with
agreement with that?
Well,
I would
I-
agree with that.
I like the idea. I mean, granted, we're all super busier in the summer than we are in the off season, but yes, you're addressing the situations that are right present and in hand. And I like the idea, Joe. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Martha, you had a thought?
No, I think it's a great idea because I think that, we've had a lot of pressing issues here tonight. And I think in the next couple of weeks, there'll probably be even a few more with the highlight of the summer and, the 4th of July and even more boats going in the water. And if there's anything that we can do to, move these issues forward, I think waiting a month is much too long.
Yeah. I'm looking at Wednesday, July the 7th.
Yep. See it.
Okay, how does that look for Sam, Walter, Kevin, Flip, Martha?
It's okay so far.
That'll be the Wednesday after the holiday.
Yes.
Yeah. The 7th.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that would probably be a good time to see what's happening, what's going on.
Did I name everybody who's present? Okay, so we're looking at Wednesday, July 7th at 7 o'clock. I will get in touch tomorrow with those 2 people. And if by chance they cannot attend, I'm going to make an effort for another day that week. Is that acceptable?
Yep.
Okay, I think the last thing we need is a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Martha,
second.
and was that you, Walter, who seconded?
Yep.
Okay. Walter? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Martha,
I,
Kevin,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Flip.
Yes.
And Joe, aye, it is. We adjourning at 8:41. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Night all.
good night.
All right. Adios.
Yes.